So what does a heap get used for? Heaps get used for a special kind of queue called a priority queue. Now, the heap is typically used, it's not really useful on its own. You either use it to build a priority queue, or we use it in like interesting sorting scenarios. Like where you only have to sort a subsection of an array, or you have to sort. It's also used to create a fairly fairly efficient sort of a array. So that's pretty good there. But but right now we're going to talk about priority queues, and then we're going to use priority queues for Huffman coding. Okay, so a priority queue is a queue where basically you can cut in line. Okay, typically queues, the person who gets served next is the person who's been waiting the longest, which is the fairest in most situations. But there are situations where people do need to cut ahead, right? Let's take a look at an emergency room or the waiting room for a hospital, right? The first thing that needs to be done is triage, an assessment of basically okay, how quickly does this person need to see a doctor? This is a baby this is a young child with a what we would think would be a pretty low fever, but it's actually pretty bad for a child under 6 weeks. So let's say 101, child with 101, so small infant with 101 fever, high priority there. So that kid's gonna get in, to see a doctor fairly quickly, because that's kind of life threatening there, right? Head injuries also life threatening. You've got some kind of stabbing injury, also life threatening. So that's a fairly high priority. You get, that cuts in line, no matter how long you've been waiting. On the other hand, right, if you've got like a broken finger, that sucks, but you are going to have to wait your turn, right? So the idea here is basically maybe you assign everybody a tier, right? Right, and you keep track of two values: how long somebody's been waiting and what tier they are, right? And if you've got, and so everybody of a super high tier gets seen first, right? The higher priority tier gets seen first, and the lower priority tier, where basically you're not in life danger, even though it sucks because you're in the emergency room, you have to wait. So, So a priority queue. And so much, an example we might use in computer programming might also be like in a print queue, where sometimes, it's more appropriate to print a short queue than a very long document, right? We want to make sure, if we've got a choice between printing a short document versus a long document, we're going to print the short document before we print the long document, so the person with the very short document doesn't have to wait for 55 pages to print out. Suppose you've got a document of 55 pages, and you've got one page. It's pretty fair to let you go first with the one page, right? So what we could do here is here's the priority queue for printing a page, right? We've got this one web page. We've got a history paper that's 4 pages. We insert a document with 3 pages, and then we insert a document with 1 page. So basically now that, we use a heap to reorder everything. So it's a queue that reorders based on some value, right? Here it's the number of pages. Right. It can also be based on the priority of something. So a priority queue has the same methods that a regular queue does. The only difference is that because we're using heap and we're judging, is that we use a heap on the back end. The smallest item is always removed first, right? The thing with the smallest value in it. Smaller values means higher priority. And because it's a heap, rather than be using constant time, these are log n operations. Now we're going to use this priority queue to build the next big topic, which is a Huffman tree, right? But otherwise, it's not really worth going into in depth. It's kind of a fairly easy thing to understand. If you've got a what's considered a higher priority, you get to cut in line in the queue. Right. So the next thing we'll go over is Huffman trees.